Is that all she wrote for the San Francisco Giants atop the National League West? Should you lay the big number with Alabama against Miami on Saturday? And is Jim Harbaugh finally ready to make some noise in Ann Arbor? All that's coming up today on Bet. That's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. I was about to text you last night. Freddie Freeman, Atlanta takes the lead against the Dodgers. I know it was your dog of the day on Daily Wager, and then I thought better of it, and then the Dodgers came storming back, and you took one on the chin there.
So maybe you reversed mush me there. Maybe the text would have helped the Braves complete that victory. But that my best bet was the under in that game, which cashed. So
never in doubt. Never in doubt. That's fantastic work on your behalf. And if you're looking for more fantastic work, Daily Wager today, 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN News. We're also starting a new thing on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting. YouTube Shorts is what we're being told they're called. Less than 1 minute videos, picks, analysis, all that good stuff. That ugly mug's up there. This ugly mug is up there. The beauty that is Doug Kazarian is up there. And the beauty that is the Good Word Thursday's opening segment is upon us. And that's where we turn right now. Statement is read, and the first word that pops into your noodle brain, translate it down into the tablet, and we'll go from there. So here we go. Playing host to UMass, the Pittsburgh Panthers are the biggest favorite on the Week 1 Saturday board, laying 38 points. 38 points.
catch-up, or if you prefer to spell it this way,
catsup.
catsup.
There you go.
This game is being played at Heinz Field. Heinz ketchup is red. If you are considering this bet, I want you to think of Heinz ketchup and its color, which is red, and stop. Okay? Why would you be laying 38 with the Pitt Panthers? Are they all of a sudden the Alabama Crimson Tide? Is there something I missed here about Pitt being some juggernaut? So stop. Think of ketchup. If you're going to the window to lay 38 with the Pitt Panthers, if they're that dominant, why not just lay the first half number when you know the back door is closed? If they're going to win this game by 40-plus points, again, ketchup, Heinz Field, red, stop. You think of going to the betting window minus 38 with the Pitt Panthers, who all of a sudden are being treated like...
I'm standing up. That's a standing O right there.
Wow,
that's a standing O because you like to break late. You like to break late. You ease your way into the show. To come out firing like that is just tremendous. It makes me feel like I shouldn't even bother.
Oh, come on.
But I'll give it a shot.
Standard in this segment, my friend.
I'll give it a shot. We are going to go with Nickelodeon.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
You got room over there. You got room.
You get what I'm going for here. This is not the first spelling mistake in this segment, by the way. Nickelodeon, the network that aired the show Doug.
Doug, yes.
Back in 1991 for 7 seasons. Doug, as in Douglas Kazarian, fearless leader of Daily Wager. Doug has been telling us nonstop to bet UMass in this game to take these points. He likes them. They got 16 starters coming back from last year's team. Quarterback Tyler Lytle transferred over from Colorado, so they got an upgrade at the position there. And Pitt lost quite a bit of talent on the defensive side of the football. Not half their starters from last year's team. Doesn't mean they're going to be bad, but that front seven has a lot of question marks entering the start of the season. UMass wants to run the ball, so if they're running into an inexperienced front seven, they might be able to have some success. They might be able to grind the clock, and they might be able to keep it within 38 points. Don't hold your breath on that one. But I would look to UMass because Doug, Nickelodeon, you see the hierarchy.
I like it.
But I just don't have the enthusiasm for it after the Heinz ketchup. It was so good. All right, let's keep it rolling. The good word number 2. After opening as high as minus 16, the Texas Longhorns are now laying only 8 points for Saturday's showdown against 23rd ranked Louisiana.
The word is rotten. So I wonder, does all this steam in the direction of Louisiana mean that Sark's debut as the Texas head coach could be spoiled rotten? Texas football, by the way, is just rotten to begin with. They haven't been good since Mac Brown left. The culture there is so bad. The arrogance and hubris has been so bad for the last decade that they essentially blew up the Big 12 by itself and had to defect to the SEC for greener pastures. Everything about Texas right now is just rotten. So I'm staying away from that. Stinks when it's all the way down to 8 now.
Rotten trying to follow you up in this thing today. It's a terrible opening act for me to try to follow. It's like the opening act comedian's funnier than the true act. All right, I'm going to go with a little bit more direct to the point because this one got my head all twisted up. Dreaded Dreaded is in the word, as in the dreaded public underdog. Everybody likes Louisiana in this game. Everybody. What's not to like? 20 starters are back from last year's team that went 10-1. And as Tyler mentioned, the perception around Texas for years has just been, rotten, never living up to expectations ever since Mac Brown left. Charlie Strong was supposed to rebuild the program, failed. Tom Herman was supposed to rebuild the program, failed. But here's the thing. I came on here about a month ago and told you I was going to play Louisiana. I don't want to play Louisiana anymore. I started doing some digging here. The dreaded public underdog. You look at Louisiana's 10-1 record last year. They were 6-1 in one-score games. They caught all the good fortune in the world. Made field goals, missed field goals, whatever they needed late in games, they were getting. And I think as a result, they're a little overvalued. And I'm starting to drink the Steve Sarkisian Kool-Aid. Everywhere I turn, people that I really respect are telling me how Sark is going to turn this program around. I know you've heard it before.
I have.
Especially from someone like me.
I
have bashed this program relentlessly for the last few years. I'm probably going to end up playing Texas come kickoff, especially if this thing gets down to 7, which I don't think is going to happen, but it could. Dreaded. The dreaded public underdog. All right, let's keep it moving, and let's move to the diamond. The Los Angeles Dodgers and ace pitcher Walker Buehler. He's now the odds-on favorite at a price of -110 to win the National League Cy Young Award.
The word is one of the many great weapons in the arsenal of Walker Buehler.
Yes, indeed.
It's curveball. Because it's quite a curveball, brother Fortenbaugh, that here we sit with just a month left in the season, and Buehler is the odds-on favorite, not New York Mets starter Jacob deGrom. Just flash back to a couple of months ago, and it was impossible to imagine anyone else being the favorite for NL Cy Young besides Jacob deGrom. So this happens because of injury in futures markets like this. A sure thing, like deGrom on an 0-2 count, snapping a curveball off and striking someone out. Injury can happen, and it can take deGrom from the favorite out of this race. Curveballs were always tough. I have deGrom tickets because I thought it was basically a CD. Just invest in that and take your money at the end of the season.
We all did.
Curveball was always tough for me to hit. That's why I had to stop playing baseball when I was 14. Couldn't hit the curve.
All right, last one here. I am going to try to spell this correctly. It shouldn't be too hard. Eddie. Not so much a word as it is a name. Eddie, as in Steady Eddie. And that has been Walker Buehler's MO throughout the course of the season. If you look at the National League Cy Young race from start to finish, what have we seen? Anything but steady. Let's start with the aforementioned Jacob deGrom was a monster favorite. No one was thinking anything else, and then he gets hurt and he's out. Zach Wheeler. Look at him in the Philadelphia Phillies. He's coming on strong. Only to, at the moment someone mentioned him in the Cy Young race, implode. It's almost as if he doused himself in gasoline and lit himself on fire the moment he was mentioned for the award. Corbin Burns has been fantastic, but every few starts, there's that one shaky outing that makes you think. And then there's Walker Buehler, who has been steady all season long, if not getting better as the year has gone on. ERA, first half of the season, 2.36. Went 9-1. Second half of the season, ERA all the way down to 1.46. He's gone 4-1. He's been fantastic. He has been steady Eddie all season. He's the guy that has the least amount of dings on his resume, and as a result, he's the guy that should be the odds-on favorite. He is the guy that should win the award. Would you play him at -110?
I wouldn't. I'd just stay away from this. I already burned my money. Because what about Max Scherzer? Like, what about what he's done ever since coming over now? His season stats are just as good as his teammate Walker Buehler, if not better when it comes to some of those sexier numbers in terms of K rate and strikeouts. But look at how good he's been since coming over to the Dodgers. And along with Trey Turner, I think it's been the insertion of Scherzer into this starting rotation as someone who has helped Buehler and then lifted this team to now what we thought their ceiling would be before the season started. Legit, they might have, they're in front of the NL West now. They said we're taking the Giants. So I wouldn't bet it, even though Buehler has been fantastic. It's a shame that deGrom's arm kind of broke down because his season was literally historic.
Historical. All right, for more on the Los Angeles Dodgers, we turn to our man in La La Land, Aldan Gonzalez, who covers the Dodgers for ESPN. He's joining us here on Bet Right Now. Aldan, we always appreciate the time. Thank you so much for jumping on. Let's start with this. First place for the Los Angeles Dodgers after everything that shook down last night. They win, the Giants lose. It's the first time they're in first place by themselves since April 25th this season. So I got to ask you, with a roster this stacked, with a rotation this stacked, what took so long? What was the problem?
Well, I think part of it was that guys like Cody Bellinger and Corey Seager and to some extent Mookie Betts, which represents 3 of their best position players, missed extended time. But I think the bigger reason here is that the Giants are a legitimately good team, and a lot of people didn't really give them much credit coming into the season. I certainly didn't think much of them coming in, but it's been very clear that that coaching staff, that front office, does a really good job of just sort of maximizing the talent that they have. You see it with the way that Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt have somehow tapped back into their primes that we thought was lost. But also, you look at their lineup, you look at their bullpen, they do such a great job of matching up, going left, right, using their depth and versatility to create those platoon advantages. And then on top of that, their starting rotation has been nothing short of a miracle, really. Kevin Gossman has emerged as an ace, but also Alex Wood, Anthony Desclafani, Logan Webb, even Johnny Cueto. Guys that we didn't think much of going into the year, they've excelled and they've propelled this team all season.
The Giants right now, Aldan, currently wrapping up the series with the Brewers at home. Then they will start a 3-game set with the Dodgers over the weekend. Right now, San Francisco up 1-0 on the Brewers, and Austin Slater homer. So if they win this game, these two teams will enter the series this weekend with an identical record, tied atop the NL West as the Dodgers are idle. What plan does Dave Roberts have for his starting rotation in the series?
And guys, I will add on top of that too, they've split their first 16 games against one another, and each team has scored the exact same amount of runs against one another. So they're really close. And Dave Roberts is going to trot out David Price, Julio Urias, and Walker Buehler in that order. It's not the most ideal circumstance because ideally they would have had Max Scherzer pitch in this series, but he pitched yesterday. Still, that is a great trio, and it is a lot better than what the Giants are going to trot out there because I talked up their rotation earlier, but they're really hurt in the starting pitching department right now. They have 3 healthy starters at the moment. Only one of them is going to pitch in this series, and that is Anthony Desclafani. He's lined up for Friday. Anthony Desclafani has had a really good year. His numbers against the Dodgers this season are brutal. I think that ERA is close to 10 in over 20 innings. The other 2 games, those are going to have to be bullpen games for the Giants. So the Dodgers are going to have a big advantage in this weekend series.
If for some reason the Dodgers stumble down the stretch and they find themselves in that 1-game wildcard matchup, they're in the unique position where they have an abundance of weapons that they can turn to, from Walker Buehler to the newly acquired Max Scherzer. Who do you think Roberts would want to trot out there in a 1-game playoff?
You know, you really can't go wrong with either of the two. I think ultimately it might come down to who is lined up for that game, given that if the Dodgers find themselves in that situation, that means that every game down the stretch will have been meaningful. And who knows, if neither is lined up, then maybe they get creative and both of them or one of them just throws a few innings and gives them whatever that they can. But in a vacuum, if I could choose from either one, look, Walker Buehler might win the Cy Young Award this year. He has proven to be a big game pitcher in the past, the tiebreaker game against the Rockies, what he did in the postseason last year. He could do it, there's no doubt about it. But Max Scherzer's a 3-time Cy Young Award winner. You got Max Scherzer to pitch in games like this. It's really close, but in a vacuum, I would roll with Max Scherzer.
Aldan, about 4 months ago on May 6th, way back after the season was just a month old, you said you would take the Dodgers at plus 325 to win the World Series. Now, 4 months later, through injuries and trade deadline acquisitions, here we are in the Dodgers. The price has come down ever so slightly to plus 300. You're losing a quarter on every dollar that you invest, basically. As we enter the postseason and see the Dodgers kind of surging, are you going to hedge your bet in any way and maybe try and find someone else to ensure some winnings? Are you going all in on the Dodgers and that ticket you bought way back in May?
That Dodgers bet doesn't look awful, especially since they're playing some of their best baseball now, and at least at present, they should be healthy for the end of September and potentially going into October. But I looked through the odds, and I gotta say, if I had to place a bet right now, I would go in another direction. I would have a sleeper pick, and that would be the Brewers at plus 850. That would be my pick. A lot of people are probably sleeping on that team, but let me tell you why. Nobody wants to face that rotation in October, headed by Corbin Burns, and Brandon Woodruff. Their bullpen is as good as anybody's. They're a good defensive team. Craig Counsell, their manager, is as good as any manager at being a tactician in the playoffs, knowing when to use his bullpen, when to use pinch hitters, knowing how to shift his infield. And on top of all that, Christian Yelich, who has been struggling mightily this year, struggled mightily during the pandemic season in 2020, he seems to finally be finding his stride again. He looks like the Christian Yelich that we know and love. That could be a difference maker for them. I would take the Brewers at plus 850.
Aldan Gonzalez, he covers the Dodgers for ESPN, joining us here on Bet. Thank you, Aldan. Great stuff as always.
Thanks, guys.
All right, let's talk college football. From the diamond to the gridiron, this is going to be College Football Pick'em Top 25 edition. We got a couple pick'ems coming your way today. This version features nothing but matchups with both participants in the top 25. We begin in the Big Ten. The Wisconsin Badgers laying 5.5, total of 50 against the Penn State Nittany Lions. How do you want to play it?
Oh, this one was tough. Tough game to grapple with, but in the Big Ten, when I'm kind of bouncing back and forth, I default to unders. It's
Okay.
Big Ten football, baby. So I'll go under 50.5. Neither team, neither school, neither program has a quarterback that really inspires me and an offense that really inspires me. We know the type of football that Wisconsin wants to play, especially at home. They want to run the football, dominate the line of scrimmage, and play some good defense. On the other side, James Franklin has some weapons that Sean Clifford can work with, but he's not near, one of those dynamic quarterbacks in this conference. So my best guess is how a game script plays out here as Wisconsin, in front of their home crowd, tries to dominate the line of scrimmage and win this game on the ground. A little bit lower scoring than 50, maybe a 28-21 type of game, a 27-22 type of game. It's close.
27-22, that's scoregami.
It's close, no doubt about it.
27.
But I default to unders in the Big Ten when I really have no lean one way or the other.
Agreed. I'm going to play the under here as well. The number's moving in that direction. There are going to be some bets we give you today that we really like. This one's I'm going to be involved, but not for a lot. There are a few unknowns here. Don't value Wisconsin based on what you saw last season. They had a COVID outbreak that derailed half the year. Graham Mertz, the quarterback, had a shoulder injury he was dealing with. There's a lot that went wrong. All right, they're going to be better this season. What's interesting is that four-star recruit Jalen Berger did not win the starting running back job. It went to Ches Malusi, the transfer from Clemson. That news came down this week. They're going to want to run the ball, as Tyler mentioned. They're going to have a great offensive line. Defensively, they should be stout as well. Sean Clifford, back at quarterback for Penn State. He completed only 60% of his passes last year. Something to keep in mind. Mike Yurcich was brought in from Texas to be the offensive coordinator for James Franklin and Penn State. Franklin loves this guy, but this is Franklin's 5th offensive coordinator in 8 years, so it might take some time. Gonna play the under. Game number 2, let's keep it in the Big Ten. The Iowa Hawkeyes, sleepers in the eyes of many in the Western Conference, laying 3, total of 46.
Now, the confidence on the Big Ten under is a little higher in this game. I like
46.
the under 46 despite it being low. Iowa, at home, in the last couple of seasons, the last 2 seasons, Iowa is 9-2 to the under at home. And again, it's similar to Wisconsin. In front of their fans, they want to run that dang rock, control the line of scrimmage. That's Kirk Ferentz football, play some pretty opportunistic, good defense. Indiana also returns a very stout defense led by Micah McFadden in the middle and All-American cornerback Tywan Mullen. So Michael Penix coming off the knee injury, maybe slow starting, even though Indiana's offense has some playmakers and they showed they could score last year. Maybe the offense takes a couple of weeks to get going. I think this is a Big Ten slugfest. A little more confident on the under here, even though it's 4 points lower than the game we just discussed.
Odd, but I'm agreeing with you here as well.
Wow.
So we're in lockstep in the first two.
Wow.
Under 46, you've got, between the two teams, 16 of a possible 22 starters coming back on the defensive side of the football. Kirk Ferentz does not have an offense that he wants racing up and down the field. That's not how he plays football, and that's not what we're going to see from the other side as well. As Michael Penix, like you said, coming back from the knee injury, it might take some time. Here's an interesting stat for you. The last 22 Iowa football games, the Hawkeyes have not allowed more than 25 points. 22 straight games in which they've held the opposition to 25 or fewer points. That is the longest current streak in FBS for those who are really keeping an eye on how many teams are giving up 25 or more points on a weekly basis. I will play the under. Again, not a bet I love, but a bet I'm involved with. Game number 3. Now it's time to get involved. The Alabama Crimson Tide, the top-ranked team in all the land, laying 19.5, total of 61 at the Miami Hurricanes. This is a neutral site game that will be played in Atlanta, Georgia.
I'm going over. Now, I will tell you that when I was initially making my notes and looking at this game last night, my initial lean was under.
Fade yourself.
And I'm fading myself because I have a lot of unders in week 1 of the college football season. However, the reason why I wanted to go over here is a couple of reasons. Alabama athletes on a fast track. Just close your eyes and think of Alabama indoors, playing on a turf field. Don't you see explosive plays, massive, think of Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Najee Harris. Now, I know all those guys are not there, but guess what Nick Saban and co do? They get the next Najee, Devontae, Jalen Waddle in the fold. You'll get to know their names throughout the season, rest assured. I think Miami's going to get down early in this game and get down big, and they will have to start chucking the rock with Derek King, and I think they have a capable enough offense. Alabama's defense being really good this year scares me a little bit for the under, but I'm going to fade myself and go under, hoping that Alabama gets to at least 45, 46 points, 47 points on the strength of their offense just being so much faster than everyone else in the nation.
When in doubt, never be afraid to fade yourself.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Sometimes you got to do it. I'm going to take Miami in this one.
Okay.
I'm going to bet right into one of the most dangerous trends in all of college football. Nick Saban in week 1 since he took over in Tuscaloosa, 11-2 against the spread, and he has done it in very convincing fashion. But there's a bookmaker named Chris Andrews here in town. He's a longtime bookmaker. He's down at the South Point. And back in May when he opened up the games of the year, he opened this game 13. Alabama 13. Now, Chris could be wrong from time to time, but is he going to be wrong by 6.5 points? The bookmakers know the Alabama money's coming in because of that trend. People love to bet Alabama. As a result, there's an opportunity here. I see value in Miami. Remember, Derek King back from injury at quarterback for Miami. The mobile quarterback has been the Achilles heel for the Saban defenses in recent years. I'm hoping that Miami can keep this tight. Totals coming down, spreads going up. You can find some 20s out there as well. I'll play Miami, half-unit bet.
I think we can thread the needle there because I think Bama's going to get to about 42 points. My question is, will Miami get to 24 to help? That would then cover the spread if Alabama scores just 42. But I go over, you cover 42-24. Let's make that the final.
I'm okay with that. Let's go with that right there. All right, final game in the top 25 pick'em. Clemson, -3, total of 51. Versus Georgia. This game will be, again, at a neutral site location, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
I'm going to lay the 3 with the Clemson Tigers. I do think the best unit on the field in Charlotte will be Clemson's defense. Now, they may be out a starter or two, but Dabo Swinney has a 2 deep that rivals Alabama, and he uses them. He gets young guys series. He gets young guys valuable snaps, when they're freshmen and sophomores so that they're ready when they're juniors to fill in and move up. So even though they might be missing some key pieces, we know Georgia's will be missing some very key pieces, especially on that offense, the playmakers that JT Daniels is supposed to work with. Yeah. So I think that Brent Venables' defense will be the best unit on the field, and I do think DJ Uiagalelei will be the best quarterback on the field. What he did in his 2 spot starts last year impressed me tremendously. Daniels was good as well for Georgia, but I think Clemson will have the better quarterback slightly and the better defense definitely on the field Saturday night.
I wanted to bet Georgia. I wanted to bet Georgia so bad, but the injuries. George Pickens blows his knee out in the spring. Eric Gilbert, the big-time transfer that came over from LSU, has been out for personal issues. They don't think they're going to have him this weekend. So as a result, I'm pumping the brakes. I'm going to play the under 51 points in this game. You mentioned Brent Venables. 9 starters are back for the Clemson defense, who was humiliated the last time we saw them on the field when Ohio State rolled up 49 in the playoff. You don't think that left a bad taste in his mouth? Kirby Smart always brings a good defense to the table. That's a Georgia staple that we see time and time again. I think this game's going to be very ugly. Give me the under 51 points, Georgia and Clemson. And with that, we make the transition to College Football Pick'em Part 2, non-Top 25 edition.
Okay.
Some Top 25 teams will be here, but both teams in the game are not Top 25 teams. Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines laying 17, total of 67, hosting the Western Michigan Broncos.
Give me the head start with the Western Michigan Broncos. I'll take the 17 points with Western Michigan. 2 reasons. They'll have the best quarterback on the field. Caleb Ellaby last year, may not know the name, but get to know it. He was 3rd in the nation in pass efficiency behind only Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. They're now first-round draft picks in the National Football League. He accounted for 22 touchdowns, 4 on the ground and just 2 interceptions. So QB advantage there. I don't know if they have the head coaching advantage in Western Michigan, but I do know Jim Harbaugh. What has he done to inspire my confidence in me giving him or backing the Michigan Wolverines with my money? He was 1-5 ATS last season, and over his last 5 years in Ann Arbor, he has just one season above 500 against the spread, and it was a 7-6 campaign. Betting against Michigan with Harbaugh has been a profitable venture. I'm going to do it here, especially with Western Michigan having LB under center.
Don't blame you one bit. Love the case you make. I'll play over 67 points. I think, without question, if Harbaugh has the opportunity to run it up here, he's going to run it up. He needs some goodwill in a bad way. And this is a Western Michigan defense that gave up 34 points a game last year exclusively in MAC games. It's not like that's inflated because they took some big matchups like this last season. On the flip side, Western Michigan brings back 9 starters on offense, and Michigan is breaking in a brand new defensive coordinator and a completely brand new defense. Multiple fronts. They want to vary it up. It's going to take some time. I think they'll be a little sluggish out of the gate. I do think the offense will be able to score, and I think if Harbaugh has the opportunity, he's going to roll it up on Western Michigan. Not saying he will, but if he does, he's going to take his shot. Over 67 is the play. Game number 2 in the non-top 25 edition. West Virginia. Minus 3. Total of 57 at Maryland, taking on the Terrapins. How are you going to play it?
Tough one. I lean under.
Under.
That's all my notes.
That's the end of the notes.
That's it.
West Virginia does have a good defense, and they played very well last year.
That's my point. West Virginia is no longer the Dana Holgorsen West Virginia squad.
Correct.
They're a defensive squad under Neil Brown, so lean under.
Okay, I am going to make this awkward because I'm going over, so here you go. Maryland, keep your eye on the quarterback. Talia Tagovailoa. Sound familiar? It's Tua's younger brother, and these guys can score on offense. The problem in Maryland is that they don't play much defense at all, which plays right into the problem for West Virginia. Great defense, questionable offense. So if you got a questionable offense going up against a lousy defense, great opportunity for West Virginia to score. If you have a very good Maryland offense, it's very explosive with a lot of wide receivers coming back, there's an opportunity to score some points. So I'll play the over here at 57. Not one I love, but I will be on the over. Final game. LSU was -3, total of 65 at UCLA. Right before we came on the air, a lot of sportsbooks moved this down to 2.5. So you can figure out how you want to navigate.
Yep.
Would you play the 2.5? Are you on LSU, UCLA? What are your thoughts? Because this is a big move off the key number of 3.
Notes in here say I'll take UCLA +3. So if you can shop and find that, play that. If it drops
Caesars
down
in
to
Las
2.5,
Vegas has it.
pass. You don't have to bet everything. I would
right.
pass at 2.5 because again, it wasn't much confidence. Based on UCLA having played a game, looking effective, LSU having to deal with what's happening in their neck of the woods, and then traveling across the country a couple time zones for this game. But if you find 3, I'm comfortable with UCLA. If it's 2.5, I pass. I don't bet.
This game was as high as LSU -4.5 when it originally opened, and it's been nothing but UCLA money moving it down. I'm involved at 3. I'm like you. I'm not going to play it at 2.5. LSU's going through a real tough time. Obviously, with the hurricane, they've been practicing in Houston, so they've got a lot of distractions at the moment. Meanwhile, UCLA has the advantage of having already played a game, getting their feet wet, getting it under their belt, and blowing out Hawaii last week. UCLA can run the ball. They got 20 starters back from last year's team, and their scoring has jumped dramatically. 2 years ago under Chip Kelly, 26 points per game. Last year, 35 points per game. They're taking steps in the right direction. They lost 4 games last year by a combined 15 points. They were much better than the 3-4 record indicates. Everybody's on UCLA. This has come down very, very low. UCLA at 3 or better. At 2.5, you might have to walk away from this one and just enjoy it without any action on it. Go ahead, get involved. We'll find you something else. All right, final segment of the week. It is called Sucker Bet. One last gift from us to you on our way out the door for the weekend. The twist here is that we take a bet that a lot of people might like, for example, UCLA, and we debunk it and tell you why you should go the other way. T-Box is yours.
This is going to sound familiar,
Okay.
but my sucker bet is a Big Ten over. And this one may be my most confident Big Ten under on the right side, but the sucker bet is over 46 with Northwestern and Michigan State. What? 46 may seem low, but why would you bet over with these two squads? This has classic Big Ten slugfest feel written all over it. Northwestern, a strong defensive squad, even though they graduated some of those players a season ago. That's Pat Fitzgerald's MO. They're 7-2 to the under last season, was Northwestern, including 4-0 at home. I think that's another trend they're going to try and ride to wins this year.
Stanford +3 on a neutral in Arlington against Kansas State. You'll look at Stanford and say they were 4-2 last year. I'll take the 3 points. Don't do it. Play Kansas State. Stanford is going to be terrible. Their win total is 4.5 for a reason. Their offense is outdated. Any skill that they had is gone. Kansas State enters year 3 of the Chris Kleiman experience. A lot of starters back on offense. This is a team to keep an eye on. Kansas State -3. Lay it. Stay away from Stanford. And that, as they say, is that. Tyler Fulghum, Joe Fortenbaugh. Catch us. ESPN News. Daily Wager, 6 p.m. Eastern today. Thank you for watching.